Welcome back to Agent Academy. You are now in session with the network group. Today we have Libby Leffler, who is the Northern California president for Compass, and we're super excited to have you. Thank you for coming.
Of course. It's good to be here.
Libby, thank you so much.
We're in session. Here we go.
This is going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a huge treat for all you guys. If you don't know who Libby is, she just started at Compass. I think, what's this, 6 months now?
Yeah.
And it is truly a gift to have her here. Just to tell everyone, it's true. To tell people out there what your background is. You are a Cal Bear.
Go Bears! Yes.
And also went to a small school, probably you never heard of, but it was called Harvard, I hear. And you graduated with the highest honors, top 5%. Truly an amazing
accomplishment. Dropping the H-bomb. Yes. My mom is going to be so proud to see this.
Hey, we all
Hey, Mom. If my mom's watching, hey, Mom. She's going to be so happy.
And then you work at a small company called Google, and then work with Sheryl Sandberg as chief of staff at Facebook, another small company that you might not have heard of. And now Compass, and we are so blessed to have you here and especially here at this Agent Academy that we've set up to talk to our agents, because one of the biggest things I think that Robert has shared with all agents of Compass is the importance of entrepreneurship and running your business like a business.
Yep.
And I thought that one of the coolest things that we could do today for all the agents out there listening is get some insight from your background, your experience coming from the tech world, because tech and real estate are really merging, aren't they?
Yeah, of course. I mean, for an industry like ours, with the largest asset class in the economy, but one that hasn't been disrupted until now, right, with the ambitions that we have.
And it's happening fast.
And it's happening really fast. So I think that's exactly right. You know, thinking through, and we're going to talk more about this today, thinking through, you know, in the face of this expanded opportunity with technology and what we're doing at Compass, how you really treat your business like a business, and really continue to learn. So we're going to talk more about that, which should be good.
I can't wait. So getting started, and we want to respect everybody's time, but I thought one of the first questions that we could ask you is, you know, with Harvard and Harvard Business School, there's a few agents that I know have attended Harvard, but a lot of us didn't. And go Buffs.
Go ASU.
But how can I get the cheat sheet cliff notes of your experience at Harvard Business School, graduating top of your class at Harvard? Was there one nugget, and I know this is so hard to say like one thing that you learned from a teacher or episode, or you go, that was a golden nugget that as an entrepreneur you should know about this.
Yeah.
And this is what they're teaching.
So first, I think you said a couple of really interesting things there. I mean, first, what I would say is, when people hear, oh, I got an MBA, or I went to Harvard, whatever. I mean, I almost didn't go, to be very clear. I was working at Facebook. You either. I deferred a couple times because I was really in the thick at Facebook of the huge growth of this company, right? And sort of, you know, joining that company in 2008, I was there for 7 years. You know, it wasn't obvious to me that I would leave and kind of go do this MBA. And I think ultimately I ended up going, and it was just an incredible experience. And what I would say about it was that it was an incredible experience largely because of the people I connected with there. And so leaning into the network piece of it, and agents know this really well because that's like what you do, right? We're a people business, we're a trust business. And so leaning into that network, you never know. You never know where something can come from, where a referral can come from, where a relationship can be built. And so for me, I think moving to the East Coast and taking on that experience, that was really valuable for me. But, you know, from a practical standpoint, when you're asking, was there a class? Was there a professor?
Like a negotiation class or like a tactical class that you go, man, because you know agents are, you know, and your family's been in that business. So, but was there something like, boy, there's one thing if I could share with anybody from Harvard, this would be it.
So the big takeaway for me from that experience is be a lifelong learner. Be a lifelong learner. This means you're always seeking. I know. So come on, you're going to keep getting to further. So it's the big thing in that particular pedagogy or way of learning is you have this case and you prepare the case the night before, and then you come into class and they basically cold call someone and say, "Hey, Butch, tell us what the case is about, right? Tell us what's going on in the business, what the key issues are. I think, being able to ask the tough questions, pushing yourself to constantly learn things, and putting yourself in positions where you feel uncomfortable, that's where the growth comes from. And I think that's what I learned. I mean, look, you're around great professors, great students, business leaders, and the thing that's true of all of them and the advice that they always are giving is I'm always seeking new ways to learn. I'm always seeking new advice.
I think that's great advice for agents, because being that we're in this time right now where everything is changing and tech is taking over, I do feel like, half the agents are willing to move forward and learn new things, and then the other half the agents are kind of like, oh, I'm going to stick to what I'm doing, and I don't know if that's the best route to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think you always have to be open to the idea that you can learn something new, and especially when you think that it's, oh gosh, I don't know anything about that, so I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
So true. I think that agents, I see the ability for them to attack different things that they've never sold before, right? Maybe it's apartment buildings, it's investment properties, could be outside area properties, like engaging that situation. So again, you're just so spot on. I love it to be able to share this insight with everybody, that you have to go to that seminar. You go to that seminar and you meet people and you make more connections. And if you don't know it, I think that is so valuable. Like, don't be afraid of not knowing.
Right.
I think,
and that's the virtuous cycle. Because it's the network piece. We always go back to the network piece. It's like, if you're constantly learning, you have this opportunity to ask people questions who come from a totally different background, frame of reference. You can learn so much from them. How have you, it could be, hey, I admired that you were great at public speaking. How did you do that? Oh, well, I did Toastmaster, or I did this class.
Right.
And you learn these new things. Putting out there in the world, hey, I want to become fluent in this, in this type of thing, whether it's I want to learn how to do social media to, market my listings, to change the way that I market, to connect with new people. It's just that mindset of constantly being open to learning. I think it can always can benefit.
No wonder I didn't go to Harvard.
You actually didn't need to go to learn, believe it or not. So joke's on me, I guess.
No, it's all good. Thank you.
So, I mean, after building on that, when you worked at Facebook and you were working with Cheryl, was there anything that you took away from that experience? Like, what did you learn at Facebook? I mean, it's particularly interesting to me because I am very heavily involved in the social media side of this. But yeah, was there anything that you learned that you feel like agents could benefit from?
Of course. I mean, I think there are a number of things I learned. And remember, when I joined Facebook, we had just, I think, opened up to not being a college-only site. So just opened up to everyone.
Okay.
Wow.
And I was part of the
how many people were there
early
at that?
team. There were several hundred people there. I don't remember the
But
exact
not 1,000.
number.
That's so
There were not
crazy.
1,000 people at the company.
That's crazy.
There were several hundred people. I worked on this small team that we had launched, a small sales team that we had launched. And this is another example of learning. Like, I had no formal sales experience to speak of, right? I took the leap, leaving Google, which was a very big company at the time, very, very interesting company doing great, innovative things, and moved over to Facebook. This was in 2008. And I think for me, it was this consummate desire to learn, which is I have no formal sales experience. They have a set of ad products. I'm going to go out there and figure out how to do this. And so when you ask me what I learned from that experience, I learned a few things. The first is that your business is always changing. In the 7 years that I was at Facebook, I tell people often it felt like in that span of time, I may have been at 4 or 5 different companies, right? In terms of the strategy, the focus, the growth, and where we were building from and where we were going. The tactical things that I took from that experience that I employed in my day-to-day life are really clear. One, focus. Focus. Focus is so important. It's important no matter whether you work in the corporate world, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're an agent. Figuring out where the next best use of your energy, your marketing dollar, your whatever you want to put it, and putting it against things that have a high ROI is so important for your business or your career growth or whatever it might be. I think the second thing is ruthless prioritization. So that goes hand in hand with focus. With every yes, there's going to be a no. There's always these trade-offs. There's opportunity cost to everything where we spend our time.
That's so true.
Right? So it's like if you say yes to doing something, you have to kind of weigh what are the other things
that you're saying
you're saying no to, and are those things valuable for you? And so I think not being afraid to ruthlessly prioritize your time, your schedule, how you're thinking about your planning for the year. We're at the end of 2019 now, right? So thinking about 2020 planning. We can't leave anything to chance as we head into a new year and a new opportunity. And then I think the third thing that I took away just from the overall experiences at both Google and Facebook is how important it is to have a personal board of directors. Have you ever heard about that?
Yes, I have. I think we could even do a episode on that because I think it's so cool. And I just heard about it from a friend of mine who runs his staging and design business, and it was brilliant.
Yeah.
Tell everybody.
So this idea of a personal board of directors is like, who are the people that you call for different things? And so that could be, hey, on my personal board of directors, I have my industry expert, like the person in consumer technology. I've spent my career working in consumer technology. So it's the person who's like the killer consumer technology exec that I'm going to call and say, hey, I have this question about, how I'm thinking about this strategy, and have you seen this work before in other businesses, or what are the things that I need to look out for? And that's like your industry expert. So that could be another agent, an agent you admire, someone who's like just, it could be a rising star or someone who's already a star that you're like, hey, I want to be like this person. How can I
modeling,
right? I think the other sort of way to round out your personal board is a mentor. Right? So having someone, and this is not, hey, Butch, will you be my mentor? Right? Mentorship comes from like real relationships. The person that you want to be that mentor for you is someone that knows you really well, because you're looking for advice from this person. Mm-hmm. Like you're looking for this person to weigh in on
not mom.
Decisions. Probably not your mom.
Right? That's what I always hear. It's like when you ask that person or that mentorship, it can't be so close that they're not going to give you that
like harsh reality.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that
yes.
fair? Yeah.
No, that's right. You want someone who, and that's part and parcel in mentorship. So to me, it's mentorship, and those relationships come through real work together, being in the trenches together, like sleeves up, hands dirty. And so I think, there's nothing more important than figuring out who have I worked with that knows me really well, that's willing to give me, to your point, authentic feedback.
Yeah.
That will help me grow, because the feedback piece is always what helps you move forward. There's this idea of a sponsor. Have you ever heard of a sponsor?
No, tell us about it.
Okay, so sponsor is someone you should have on your personal board of directors. A sponsor is a person who, different than your mentor, is a person who can help open doors for you. So it's like, hey, I'm in the job market looking for my next big opportunity. And there's someone out there for you that you can call who knows you really well, again, who can vouch for you and vouch for your work, but who can say, hey, I've worked with Butch. Butch is amazing. Similar to a referral, right? A referral network. It's like, hey, this experience has been amazing, and I'm willing to recommend you to other people. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to leverage my network to help you. And so that is a little bit different than a mentor who you're kind of seeking out guidance from or advice from. It's someone who really, you're opening the door, and who's willing to kind of make those connections for you.
Connector.
Yeah.
So going back through that, it's having like a rising star or somebody that you respect.
Yeah.
In that kind of first role.
Yep.
Then there's the mentor that not necessarily is in your line of business that really can give you coaching advice that knows you well. And then the third part is the connector or door opener.
Yeah, I mean, the person who's really going to be willing to tap into their network or other networks to benefit you. And part of that is your willingness to put out there in the world, here's what I want. Here's what I want my business to look like in 2020. Here's who I want to connect with. And they're like, hey, I know a bunch of people like that, like in my network. Let me help you. I think, to round that out.
Good advice.
And your personal board, I mean, the thing that's most interesting to me, and taking this away from Google and Facebook, is watching folks networks evolve as they continue to work. Like you might have a client that you're like, actually, you're someone that, and certainly for you as and knowing you, building those relationships and how important relationships are to you, that may be a person where you're like, hey, we have this like great ongoing relationship, and you and I add value for you and you add value for me. The thing about this is your personal board of directors, it can be as big as you want, it can be as small as you want, it's customizable, it may not fit kind of the examples that I've given, but you should also be injecting and infusing value back into that network of people too, right? So that they can call you if they have things that they need, or there needs to be some sort of mutual care of that value there.
Right. It's a reciprocal sharing of value. I always try and I teach a goal class around the first of the year for agents, and we'll be doing that this year. And
love that.
Yeah, no, it's great. And one of the things I always try and share with people, because I learned it from a great mentor in New York, Compass New York, and it's don't worry if you don't have it all perfect. Right. So many of us are perfectionists or like control freaks, right? Agents are the ultimate control freaks. And I always share, like, if you don't have the board or if it's not perfect, you don't know, start.
Yeah,
right?
Start.
Add one.
Yes.
Then go to two.
Yes.
Set your goal and just say one. Because sometimes you go, 3 or 5, that's so daunting, right? Mm-hmm. Get one mentor. Get one connector.
Yes.
So I really appreciate you sharing that, because I've heard of this. I've seen people implement it. And when I've seen people implement this, their business explodes.
Yeah.
It truly does, right?
And I think you can leverage the mentor. So some of it is like how you get started. I love this idea of just start, right?
Yes.
Start, add one, add two, whatever. Yes. And that's the thing that prevents many of us from kind of moving forward. Mm-hmm. Figure out with your mentor or someone you really trust, right? Who really honestly knows you and can give you that feedback.
Not mom.
Not your mom.
Even though you trust her.
not your mom. I trust my mom enough to give me authentic feedback. Okay. But maybe she doesn't feel like she can be. I don't know. Yeah. We're gonna find out after this.
Gonna call her after.
I'm gonna call her. Hey, give me some hard feedback. Get the tough feedback, right? The stuff that are things for you to work on, and then you can actually build your board around those things.
Yeah.
So let's say you were like someone who. You go, okay, I'm naturally not an optimist. I worry and it stresses me out.
That's literally me.
Okay, but like so many of us. When you talk about like control or wanting to have this control, things being perfect, it's like, okay, fine. Find someone in your network, in that group, that can help infuse and help you turn on that like optimism switch where it's like, okay,
that's great.
How can I build the areas where, right? Because it's so easy to over-rotate to focus on the things we're really, really good at. Like if you're killer at marketing, you're like, okay, I love doing the marketing piece.
Right.
I'm gonna dive into the marketing.
Not gonna do anything else.
But maybe it's like, actually, I really need to focus on business planning.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how to get started there. That may be the place that you're like, okay, how do I round out my network and think of who can kind of help me get started? But it really is all about
amazing advice.
Started.
Getting started and choosing and kind of focusing on what you're not the best at and kind of going into that like head first.
I'll never forget, we were gifted with a tour of the Facebook campus, the one down the old Sun Microsystems.
Yes.
And I heard they even kept the sign.
They did.
So that
Isn't that cool?
So cool, because what they did is they kept the Sun Microsystem sign to say, don't forget we could easily be replaced if we don't stay cutting edge, correct?
Yeah, they took the sign in front of their office, their headquarters at Willow Road, and they turned the sign backwards. So the Facebook thumb thing is on the front. So whenever you drive by, if you're coming off the Dumbarton Bridge, you always see people there like taking photos and stuff.
Yeah.
But I said this the other day. I was driving down there with my husband, and I said, "Oh, did you know that sign is just the sun sign turned around?" He's like, "No," and I told him the story. It's a great piece of corporate lore and legend that kind of, when we first moved into, and when I worked at Facebook originally, we were on a bunch of different offices. I worked in Lytton Avenue, and then we moved down to Page Mill Road. And it was always that, the walls, the building always had like exposed beams and like exposed ducts and different things. And it was always to represent that Facebook was never finished And so therefore kind of our offices were never,
cool.
finished.
Yeah.
And so
Cool.
I think that, even having that in your own business, which is like, hey, these are the things that represent my brand. These are the things that represent who I am. Those little touchstones I think can be really powerful as you kind of build.
Well, I'll never forget too, I saw on the tour, when you walked into the lobby and you checked in, they had all these quotes, and one quote really stood out to me, and it was, "Nothing is somebody else's problem." And that's what I believe in, how I try and live my life. Like literally I see trash on the ground, I will pick it up.
Yeah.
And literally I think if as a society...
He really does. I've seen him.
That's good. We should all do that. Everyone, that's our other tip. If you see litter, please pick it up.
But as a society, right? Like,
yes.
Why do we think that we can walk by things and not help or engage? And, you see somebody crying, that like it's okay to ask them like, "Are you okay?" Or you see somebody in trouble. But and in business wise too, I think that we've created a culture here at Compass that is second to none. I've worked for a couple different companies, and I've seen other agents work at different companies. I have never seen a culture of sharing and compassion like I've seen at Compass, and it truly is unique. But I remember seeing that, and I was like, I'm so glad somebody else recognizes that. That if something's bad, and that's what they also do here too, is they take advice. Robert and you, Peter, everyone is such an amazing listener. Right? But we have one more question to ask you. And I really appreciate it because I know your time is so valuable. The other thing is, it is. And I'm just honored to be here with you. But the question
Will
that
you
I
be on my personal board of directors?
Yes.
Wow, that's a great question.
Can you believe it? Is that the last question?
No.
For me? I think I just turned it around.
Yes. No, but your family has been in the real estate business. So real estate, even though you've been in tech, wasn't new to you because your family has been in the real estate business. So you really have an amazing kind of overview from a high level. Here I've been at tech. Here, my family, I know my family business inside and out. And you actually worked in real estate with them, right? Which is a story for another time. Unfortunately, we don't have time, but it's hilarious.
I mean, the only job I was qualified to do at that point was to file and to answer the phone in the summer, which is like a great job when you come home from college. So I was like,
awesome.
I'm like, cool. I get to, be around these like super motivating entrepreneurs, people building their businesses and who have a very specific point of view about, how they want themselves and their brands represented and how they market. And so it did give me that kind of bird's eye view into, one, how motivating it is to be around people with that kind of energy, and two, how difficult these jobs are. This is a really hard job.
People don't understand that.
Yeah.
It's so funny from the outside.
Really hard jobs.
People don't understand it. So I'm so glad that you see it. But with your family being in that business, the question I guess that I wanted to ask you is, with all the disruption, I mean, it is happening right now. You have Redfin, all these tech companies trying to start up every day. A new tech company I see, or like do this or do this, and like and it's amazing to be in the disruption right now and recognizing it. Not everybody's seen it, or people are like, well, I'm going to retire in a few years. Like, it is happening right now. What do you see as some things, knowing real estate well now, and technologies that people could use to stay ahead of the curve while this disruption's happening?
Yeah, I think it's super important. And, you talked about walking into the lobby of an office and seeing quotes on the wall. And that's how I feel when I walk into Compass every day. And we have our Compass entrepreneurship principles around dreaming big, moving fast, learning from reality, right? Those are the motivating touch points, I think, for me, even from the moment that I walked into our office of like, wow, we really... like, these are the things that we say we do, and we really live them every day. You talked about my family being in the real estate business, and, when I graduated from Cal, I think, there was this feeling of, okay, well, you're going to come work in our business. Yeah. And I was like, well, I'm in the Bay Area in the midst of kind of this shift in, this second shift in Silicon Valley. Let me try to see what's going on here. But always in the back of my mind thinking, my grandfather started his real estate practice in 1955. That is still operated by my family today. I've grown up, I am the only non-agent in my family. Like, when I go home for Thanksgiving, like, now I have something to talk about. Do you know what I mean? Because like even my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, like, they're working in our
so
family's
funny.
real estate business. Look, the core thing for me, one, about Compass is that we believe and always will believe the agent is at the center, right? The agent is critical to this transaction. Before I worked at Compass, I worked at SoFi, which is a fintech company that is, strives to help people reach financial independence. And one of the things that we would talk about there is, what it would look like to buy a home for a person that had, say, student loan debt. Buying a home is one of the most significant financial transactions that people will ever undertake in their lives. And I cannot underscore enough how important the agent is at the center of that transaction. And that's really, like, we're betting on the agent, right? We're betting on you to move this forward. The thing for me is, in the midst of technological transition, in the midst of more opportunity, treating your business like a business is the most important thing you can do. That means that if you know how to run your business today and it's working effectively, great. But you need to make sure you're looking forward, right, at how to grow that business, whether it's planning, process, right, whether it's taking on opportunities to learn something you might not be as familiar with. Hey, I need to really up my CRM game.
Yes.
Hey, I need to understand how artificial intelligence will impact, and can impact my clients in a really positive way. And the thing I always tell people, especially coming from fintech, is, where is your next best dollar spent? What is the next ROI high incremental thing that you can do in your business? Is that marketing the way you market today? Is that better understanding the efficacy of your marketing so that you can reconfigure that mix in the coming year or in the second half of the year? I think it's really digging into, what are the fundamentals of my business? What make it super great? Are there things that are holding me back? And if there are, how do I attack those things?
And really thinking of it as a business.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yes.
That's that takeaway of that ROI.
Yes.
Like, am I using my money in marketing, whether in education, to effectively run a pro business? I think you're absolutely right. What I see out there is the hobbyist real estate agent is going to get displaced. It is going to be left to people that treat their business like a business, a professional.
Yeah, this is a profession.
This is a profession, and it's going to only get more and more and more. And I truly believe, as you say and share, that managing a database and a CRM and having that with AI, right? Like, that's going to remind you about things that we don't even know, because there's so many different areas where information is being traded. I always thought this was a dream, right? Because so many clients are like, oh, by the way, I moved to Chicago. Like, I didn't know that. Right? And that would have been a great networking opportunity for me. I just didn't know if something had said, like, hey, your client is looking at Chicago. And that's never been possible before. Right? And now the crazy thing is, it is possible. We're just in the infancy of it, but it's going to be.
If you can lean into new tools and be on the forefront of adopting these new things that help your business and help your clients, if you can be, like, even if you feel that you've had a really successful multi-decade career, there are always new things to learn. This goes back to what we first talked about. If you can know your numbers, know your business, talk to other people, how are they growing their business? How are they leveraging concierge? How are they leveraging bridge loans? How are they leveraging search? Right? How are they leveraging the CRM? What are the things that you can learn from them? Because good thing we're recording. It's critical to know your business inside and out. The inputs that you are driving that help really grow your business and drive success in the business, and the outputs of that. So it's what are my levers? And when I when I tweak something, what does that do to my business? And looking for where you can get either greater efficiency, greater growth in your business. I think those things, it's exactly what you said. It's treating it like giving it the respect it deserves.
Yes.
This is such an important part of this profession. And so really treating it like the business that it is, and treating your business, no matter how you've done it, no matter how you've grown it, those are fabulous recipes, and you should always lean on those as the foundation. But how can you layer on new things that as technology comes into play, as we offer
Evolves,
new tools
right.
and products, where is that value for your clients? I think there's nothing more important than being able to examine and be really creative on that.
Well, I think too, it's if you're an agent, I want to share this with you, because you might be an agent sitting out there going, well, how can I go ask somebody that's an agent that thinks I'm competing with their advices? So how do you do it? I think you go out of market, right?
Yeah.
And you build your network, and you go, hey, you're one of the top agents in San Diego. I'd love to meet you, take you to coffee. Mm-hmm. Could you share business practices? And by the way, I'm a great person to know in San Francisco. And I always think when you or lead in with helping them or something like that, like try and think of some way to add value to their life. And there's always something, and you can do research on people so much easier today. Yeah. And then attack it like a professional. Like, hey, I'd love to get your advice. How did you grow your business here? Or how do you use technology? Is there any technology? And you build that relationship, right? Yeah. So if you are nervous to ask somebody locally, you can go out of market. And certainly at Compass,
I think it's great.
Everyone has this culture here that is willing to share. I've never seen anything like it. I remember, Malin, who's one of the top agents in the country from Coldwell Banker, she joined Compass here. And we competed all the time. I never beat her once. I mean, she just had my number, and deservedly so. She is the queen of real estate. But it was so amazing because as soon as she got here, she's like, "Oh, Butch, here, use this. This is what I say here. This is what I do in this situation." I was like, "Oh my God, I have this queen, just imparting like the most important nuggets," and I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing."
Yeah.
Right?
I love that.
What a great.
I love that.
Yeah. So, well, Libby, thank you so much. I hope this just gets all the engines in your brain turning, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now I have a new addition to my personal board of directors.
There you go.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks
for having me.